So, hello. Thank you for having me here. Good to see you all. My name is Jill Eggers, and I'm a professor in the Department of Visual and Media Arts, where I have the painting program. And I'm here to talk to you as healthcare professionals, and I want to talk about a course that I've developed that that is an art course for healthcare professionals and the ideas that are behind that and that drive that. I've been teaching for a really long time, and for most of my career, I've been teaching art majors. Art majors, people who come to get art degrees, and that's what their background is, and they have people who have grown up thinking themselves talented and creative, and they have that kind of mindset. And so I've been teaching to those people most of my career. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, I started developing some courses. I started teaching people who have no art background at all. I got really interested in the different ways that we learn and the different ways that we think in different professions. I started teaching some classes in the Honors College and in general education to pre-med students, to engineering students, to people who had no art background at all. And in some cases, they came to my classes kicking and screaming because it was like the lesser of some evil that they had to take in our class. So I started really shaping teaching to address those people who were coming in without that art background. And I had a really surprising, I've had a really surprising set of results or experiences through that. And that's what leads me to what I'm going to talk about tonight. I became really interested in working with these different ways that we think. And as an educator, I started really looking at how visual thinking and other aspects of art supported learning and impacted learning in other ways. And I really started seeing for the first time how differently we learn. In particular, this sort of, the arts education tends to be more nonlinear, more uncertain, more sort of whole picture thinking. That tends to be associated with the arts learning, whereas we often think in the sciences we're learning in a more linear fashion, a more analytical fashion. Does that make sense? Does that resonate with you? And of course it's not at all cut and dry. So I want to talk about that and how I came to develop an arts course specifically for the healthcare professional to address some core needs that we could really improve on in our preparation of healthcare professionals. The way this started was a little over a year ago. A colleague showed me an article about a course that's taught in Harvard Medical School, and it's called Training the Eye. And it's a visual arts course that uses art to teach students to become better diagnosticians. And I was immediately interested when she told me about this course, and I started to read about it. And I thought immediately when I heard about it, this is the thing I want to do, is create a similar course at GVSU. So I reached out to the woman, the artist who had co-developed and taught that course at Harvard for 10 years, and got in touch with her. Her name is Alexa Miller, and we actually have her out here. I'll talk about that a little bit. But here she is out in the hallway here leading the session. And I began to talk to her about this course, and she was great. I got an innovative teaching grant and hired her as a consultant to help me develop a similar course here at GVSU. So I also then went to Harvard last spring, and I worked with 2 of the physicians who are in medical school there who both teach their course, Training the Eye, and also teach in the medical school. And so after doing that, I was able to figure out how, they're doing it as medical students, they're doing it in a medical school, so their students are graduate students in medical school. How could I develop an undergraduate program? So this course that I'm going to talk about tonight is particularly designed for the art, or for the undergraduate. I taught the first iteration of the course last fall, and it's going to be offered every semester starting next fall on. And I'm going to talk about this and how arts learning and meditation can serve you as health professionals. But first, I want you to do something. So if you could clear a little space, put your feet off to the side, get up. You have a couple sheets of drawing paper and a pencil. And before I go on with this, I want to say, please make yourselves comfortable during this talk. Get up and get more pizza. This is also your dinner hour, and you're also very rushing off to the class for homework after this as well. So when you need to go up to the bathroom, go out, but it won't offend me at all if you're going, get pizza, whatever. Okay, so you have a space in front of you, a piece of drawing paper and pencil, everybody? Okay. How many people own a cell phone? Put it out of sight. Now for the next 3 or 4 minutes, I want you to draw your cell phone in every single detail that you can. And first of all, don't worry, you're not going to show this. You don't have to show this to anybody. And you don't need to talk about it. But just draw your cell phone in every single detail that you can. Draw everything you know about your cell phone. If you don't want to draw your cell phone, draw your keys. That's something else that you have in your hand every day, all the time. Don't worry about erasing. Don't worry about it. You flip the page over 2 minutes ago. So draw either your cell phone or your set of keys. Yeah, in any way that you can, make it as everything you can think of about it. All right, so set that aside. Now we're going to do something else. I want you to turn to a person next to you, and I'd like you both to introduce yourselves.
Hey.
Thank you. All right, now I'd like you to turn so that you have your back to that person and can't see the The person you just talked to, the person you have your back to them and can't see them at all. For those of you who are watching this live stream, you can turn away from the camera and you can use me for this exercise. Okay, so you're going to take your other piece of paper, and this, what you're about to do, nobody's going to see this, and nobody's going to read this. You can just use the back of your thumb drawing if you want to. You only got one piece of paper. I'd like you to write down everything that you noticed about that person. Don't look at them again. Everything that you can think of about them. And it doesn't just need to be, it can be not physical things as well, like their tone of voice. Just write down everything you remember about that person. Again, you're not going to read this, you're not going to show this to anybody, nobody's going to see it. So if you write down beautiful eyelashes, we're not going to know. Okay, so let's go back to the telephone drawing. Tell me what happened and what that was like. What? What was that experience like? What? You know your phone? So you felt like you knew where everything was? Okay. You felt comfortable drawing. Anybody else have a different experience? Yes?
I thought it was so mine has cracks on it, little cracks.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Good. Anything else? What else? Yes?
I thought I was done, and then I realized that I wasn't. I had forgotten a few elements.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Anybody else? Was it difficult for some? I have this thing, I use it all the time. I see people nodding. I've only done this game one time before, so I don't know if it's going to work here. But what oftentimes people say is, you see this every day. You hold it every day, you use it every day. You've had it for years. And then you go to draw it and you're not really sure where things are. How many people had that experience? Okay. What is it that I'm looking at? How is that one thing big or small? Is it at the top of the rock? Okay. So there's some uncertainty for some and some happiness for others. Let's go to the person that you introduced yourself to and then you did the writing. What was that experience like? Yes.
I kind of started with the physical things that I noticed first, and then as I went down the list, I thought more about like you kind of said, tone of voice or the atmosphere they give off.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you don't have to divulge what you actually wrote about that person because that would be uncomfortable. But what was the experience like? That was a really good piece of feedback. So she noticed the visual, and then she noticed tone of voice, and then she noticed kind of a feeling that you got from the person. Anybody else have a similar experience or something different?
So I remember stuff.
You what?
I didn't look like
You didn't look deep enough.
No,
Great,
I didn't
good.
notice
So when you did it, you felt like, okay, if I had known I was doing this,
I would have looked more.
I would. Okay, good. Thank you. Anybody else have that experience? Or wait a minute, I wasn't logging in that way. What else?
I thought it was harder to get started, like with my phone, it's like, oh, and then I wasn't thinking, like, I wasn't confident when I was
Which, the phone drawing or
No,
the writing?
Yeah.
Oh, the phone, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I can do this. But,
Thinking words, I was like, more negative, like, why didn't I pay attention?
huh,
But then I-
okay. So what would you have done differently if you had known what was coming with the writing piece when you met your person?
I prepare myself, like, noticing more.
Okay, so there's something you could have done consciously with your awareness that would have shifted how you took in information. What difference would this make to you as a patient if your caregiver had that view, that visual orientation? Any thoughts? What difference would it make if your caregiver had that orientation towards you as a patient? Okay, so you feel seen?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Great, thank you. Yeah, you were going to say something?
Yeah, some people give off the impression that they're just there to collect a paycheck, and they're not hearing about me as a deeper person. They're just only there to fix my broken ankle or something like that. So by having this alternate lens, it shows to me as a patient they truly do care about me and my problems with healing, and shows like you're just compassionate.
So you can show compassion, you can show that you're present and attentive, you can recognize the person. If you're showing that you're showing up visually and paying full attention. Anything else that you want to throw in there about that? You're thinking of something. You're thinking you want to say? Okay. So this is the kind of quality that this course is about, is how do we become very visual thinkers and how do we become very aware and present. And if we do those things, then it shows up in our healthcare work in ways that are very positive. Arts learning and meditation have particular value for the healthcare professional. Arts learning has been shown in research to improve patient care, reduce burnout in the caregiver, reduce diagnostic error, improve teamwork and communication skills, and improve our resilience and presence in the clinical setting. So it has implications not just for our patient, but for us as in sustaining us and keeping us healthy within our medical professions. Meditation has been shown to increase focus and our ability to be present, to decrease stress, reduce burnout, and increase the capacity for compassion and empathy, which sounds drastic, but we'll talk a little bit about that. How can meditation increase our capacity for compassion? So these are key qualities that can help address vital needs in healthcare education. And we're going to look at a few of these and how the aspects of this course have been designed to support them. So some of the key needs that we are aware of in healthcare right now is a biggie is the problem of misdiagnosis. The problem with misdiagnosis accounts for about $750 billion of wasted revenue annually and unnecessary healthcare costs. Is anybody familiar with that figure? Some of you have heard it before. Studies of the Harvard Medical School's course that I spoke about earlier showed a reduction in misdiagnosis in students who took the course. And then this course has been imitated at many other medical schools. So Harvard and Yale developed a really similar course at around the same time, about 12 years ago is when we see Training the Eye came out. And then it's been imitated now at about 23 different medical schools because the research really supports that when we become more visual, we learn how to be more effective in the diagnostic setting. Another healthcare need is teamwork. Lisa was talking about teamwork in her remarks in the very beginning. I think that's probably, I get the sense it's sort of a buzzword that is very much on everybody's mind in your coursework. Is that accurate? That interdisciplinarity is very much a focus of healthcare now in a way that it wasn't 30 years ago, or even if we jump way back, 100 years ago, when we had the model of physician and patient as a sort of isolated event. Teamwork is a part of the focus of this course that I'm talking to you about, or that we're going to talk a little bit more about. We need to strengthen our abilities to communicate with each other and to improve our teamwork, and I've got several points about that on the right here. So teamwork reduces burnout, increases job satisfaction, reduces medical error, increases patient safety, etc. Another healthcare need, curiosity. We spend a tremendous amount of time learning in analytical ways, learning step-by-step processes, learning memorization, accumulating a lot of facts. And sometimes I know you all have the experience that you're running so fast to try to keep up. That sense of delight, that's a part of curiosity, that sense of wondering kind of gets stripped away. Anybody know, does this resonate with any of you? Yes, no, you're nodding heads. Training and instruction can harness curiosity. Research suggests that experiential learning that involves scenarios and engaging examples, piques curiosity. One way this is relevant is that medical schools and healthcare systems need to leverage this opportunity. Curiosity drives people to keep an open mind, to ask questions, and to continue learning, and to be comfortable with complex, uncertain situations. Arts learning is sort of situated in uncertain situations, not knowing what next outcomes are going to be. Another healthcare need is empathy and communication. So we talked a little bit about empathy or compassion in these exercises, how we can actually be more visual and being more aware, increase our sense of empathy. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. It is a key element in our patient care. So this course, Learning to See, is developed to address these needs. It fosters a development of whole picture thinking, of visual seeing. Curiosity, mental focus, teamwork, communication, and empathy. The means and methods we use to address these needs are primarily these three things that we do in the course. And one is visual thinking strategies, another is drawing, and another is meditation. So I want to touch into each of these three methods so you kind of get a sense. And then we're going to do a visual thinking strategy session in a little bit together too, and we're going to do some meditation together. So visual thinking strategies uses art to develop creativity, to develop visual and observational skills, and to develop awareness about our own mental projections and assumptions. So we're going to notice who our patient is and how they show up when we become more visual. We're going to learn to understand some of the things that are unconscious or subconscious assumptions we make when we look at someone. And we're going to become more conscious of those things. It's a method of looking at talking about artwork, and it's a method of looking at and talking about artwork that's very open-ended. So we just look at what we're seeing. You'll see when we do one tonight. It's really very simple. We just look and describe what we see. At Harvard and Yale Medical Schools, these methods were engaged and resulted in medical students who made fewer diagnostic errors. So visual thinking strategies trains not only what we see, but how we look. It trains thinking patterns as well as our ability to notice more. Another aspect of this course, here's a couple of images first of students doing a VTS session right out in this hallway around the corner. You might recognize some of these paintings. In this class, we also do visual thinking strategy sessions in the Art Museum. We go down to the Grand Rapids Art Museum. So I don't know if any of you went down there during, anybody go down there during art class last fall? If you did, you might have seen this piece up on the second floor. Did you see that piece? It had like 20 different, it was really beautiful. Anyway, we work together in teams and pairs, talking about artwork, and these are in Graham. How many of you saw this piece? It's really beautiful, isn't it? I had a lot of students that did some work around that piece. So we talk about not just what we're seeing in the work, but how we respond to it, and how the sort of immersion into our visual experience impacts us and how we put it into words. And this begins to help us not just with noticing things, but with communication as well. Feel free to ask questions during any of this. I really welcome your questions if you have. Yeah, you look like you were full of one.
Yeah, I am full of lots of questions. As I do something, it's not nearly as extensive as what you're doing, which this really excites me. But I teach an undergraduate physical assessment course, and one of the things that I put in there was I teach an undergraduate physical assessment course for nurses.
Oh, can we talk afterwards?
I actually have to leave because I have another meeting, but I wanted to come down and hear this because Jerry was telling me about it. But I actually pull out artwork for the students, and we work on our objective data with it, and I use some of the French masters, but I also use I'm trying to think of it, Christina's World.
Oh yeah, that's really good. And your what?
Wyatt, I like Wyatt's work too. In Christina's World, afterwards I give them the story of Christina.
It's a great piece for this.
And it's
well, I would love to talk to you.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, did you have a question around that, or?
Well, I was just wondering, like, how you do that. And it sounds like I'm on the right track.
Yeah, it does.
What I'm
we're going to do a session in about probably 15 minutes. I don't know if you'll still be here. Oh, okay. So I can talk to you about visual thinking strategies and how we do that. And there are a number of different kinds of exercises that you can do. But there's one that we'll do tonight that's very straightforward, where you really are just describing what you've seen. And when I talk about this a little bit more in a few minutes, when we do it, you're not making judgments. You're just saying what's there, and you're trying to bring everything out. So before we get to the VTS session, another component of the class is drawing. So what happened one of the reasons this is in the class is that I kept hearing from my students who took anatomy and physiology that they're expected to draw for anatomy and physiology, and they have no idea how. And they don't know art materials, and they're not comfortable with it, and they have no skill or talent. And they really kind of shut that part down, or they felt really like, well, there's this gap here. I'm supposed to do this, I don't have the skills to do this, it would be a good thing to do. And I also realized that drawing has some other qualities that to offer us. It makes us more visual, so that's why it's in the class. Does anybody recognize this guy that's waiting minutes? I don't know if you've ever had him in class. I won't reveal this. Drawing trains visual thinking. It trains eye-hand coordination, so this is a skill that we want. And it reinforces your learning in anatomy and physiology, but it also provides another communication tool for you and your patient. If you can go up on the board, in the patient room and make a quick drawing and feel comfortable doing that, you're going to be communicating very effectively. I don't know how many of you have ever had anecdotal experiences where a family member said, this health caregiver did this. And I hear that all the time. This health caregiver told me, the doctor showed me this little picture and it suddenly made sense. So there are a lot of reasons that we want to have drawing. In some kind of drawing skill or some kind of at least comfort and familiarity with that as another tool. Some people really find that very valuable. Some people always feel a little bit like, I don't like to draw. And the course is taught from that standpoint. Like, you come into that class, you are not expected to know jack about drawing. Nothing at all, no skills, no art skills. And you can excel in this class, and I can't stress this part enough, without ever acquiring any finesse with drawing. You can come in clunky, you can leave clunky, but if you engage these techniques that we use, you will become better and you will feel more comfortable. And part of the drawing aspect is just getting messy with the materials. Like, you have access to all kinds of range of really beautiful papers and really beautiful different kinds of color and black and white media, and we literally play with them, so that you really become familiar with the sensual qualities of that. You keep even, I give you a sketchbook at the beginning of the semester so you can do drawing through the classes as well and learn to sketch a little bit as well. The other thing that I think, and this is just, this is my sense as with 30 years of art of teaching, painting, and drawing, I think that drawing connects or strengthens our sense of empathy with our subject. So there's this kind of intimacy to the act of drawing, just like there's a kind of intimacy to taking care of somebody. And when you're really taking the time to really look at and examine the physicality, we work with plastinets from the Plastination Lab, or with the human model, you develop kind of delicate empathy for your subject. Does that make sense to you to hear that? Or you just like kind of roll nods? So that's one of the reasons that I want drawing included in the course, because I really think that it helps connect us to the physical world. And we've all wrestled with the idea of how much the clinical setting can become a place where there's the caregiver over there with the computer, and I'm over here by myself, in my robe, whatever, and this just is another link that links us to the intimacy of our caregiving. Any thoughts or questions about that? Okay, I want to talk about the third part of the course, and that is, let me see if I have any more drawing images to show you first. Here we are in the drawing studio. We actually use a live model some of the time. And we're going to just really make very fast and loose and open drawings. And the class is taught, uses still life. There are some plastinates in the still life, but we work with all kinds of different subject matter at points in time.
I have a question. How often do you recommend people draw, or those of us who are studying health professions draw, even if we're not in the course?
That's a good question. I think we should draw every day, no matter what your profession is. That's a really good question. It kind of depends. I would love it if when people are taking this course, if they sketch every day a little bit, even if it's a couple of minutes, like on the bus, just to begin to make that eye-hand coordination. Okay, that's why I give everybody a sketchbook on the first day. So you're on the bus, or you're doing something where you can't be doing something else, or you're sitting in the back of a really boring lecture. like this one. Make a quick sketch of the head of the person sitting in front of you. So just getting that visual mode of being visually curious. I work with Dr. Strickler, Tim Strickler, over in Anatomy and Physiology, if any of you know him at all. And he's been really great helping me with, he provides us with the class minutes, and I sit in on his human dissection class so that I can get a sense of how people are learning over there. He requires people to draw, and he really supports the idea that people remember better if they draw. So one of the ways that you could be drawing on a regular basis is when you're taking the class, or when you're doing any kind of learning that uses that subject matter. My goal is for you to be really comfortable with the idea of that language, and be comfortable with the idea that you might be clunky at it, but that the more you do it, the more you just automatically learn. People think that you either have the talent or skill or don't, and that's not my experience as an educator at all. Some people have much more of a natural sense that part of the brain is really developed, and it's much easier for them to do it, but my experience is that anybody can learn to draw and can improve in their drawing and become more visual.
Yeah, it seems like you could just take a few minutes a day instead of looking at your phone and instead draw something in your house or something.
A big part of it is our own hesitation and our own belief that we are not good at this. Creativity is innate. We all have it, but we've been taught, our culture teaches us gives us some very different messages. And we've been taught to think that we either have it or we don't. And that's just not the case. And it's part of what stops us. It's like, I'm not going to do something clunky. And so in this class, I can't stress this enough, you can draw really clunky bad drawings. We really work consciously with learning to not be judgmental about that and to enjoy the experience. So the visual thinking strategies and the meditation are two of the main components of this class, but there are three main components, and the third one is meditation. And here's a picture of the group in class meditating. And we're going to do a meditation in a couple of minutes. Meditation, does anybody have any experience with meditation at all in this class? Would you just give me some information of what your experience is? Like, you tried it once, or does anybody do it 2 hours a day every day since they were 12?
I took a yoga class.
What?
I took a yoga class.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. And then you do it at the start, and then you kind of do the child pose at the end. It's kind of like a meditation. Okay, yeah. Great. So that was a guided meditation? Okay. What else? What other experiences? Yes?
I'm using apps sometimes at the end of the night.
Oh, great.
For a couple minutes.
Okay. Other people have encountered meditation through an app? There's some really good ones out there. Okay.
There are people online.
What?
We've got a couple people online that have also tried it and then use it at nighttime to fall asleep.
Okay. So what drew you to go try it as an app? What did you want from meditation? Why did you think it was worth bothering? Yes?
To decrease stress and then to increase sleep, turn that part of your brain on.
Okay, so if your brain's all crazy making and you can't stop because you just go. Okay. So as a way to relax and behind you.
Oh yeah, and one of my clinicals we used it at like the end of the day as like a debrief, kind of as a form of self-care.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Somebody online said they try it, but they always fall asleep.
Oh, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Has anyone else had that? You said you use it to go to sleep, to help you go to sleep. Anybody else tried it? You go to meditate, you're not planning to go to sleep, but that's what happens. Yeah. And that happens for a reason. It's that meditation increases our awareness of what is. You know, we're trying to block stuff out all the time and shut it up so that we can pile more stuff into our lives. And when we sit down to meditate, we start to become aware of what's really going on. And for a lot of people, especially those of you who are in school, what's really going on is you're sleep deprived. So what's really going on presents itself. So I'm hearing a lot of people say that I chose meditation or I tried meditation to relax. I tried it to kind of settle my mind and keep thoughts from racing. And those are really good reasons, and they're also associations that many of us have with meditation. Historically, in the biggest sense, meditation isn't to make us relax, but to increase our awareness of ourselves. So many traditional meditations, there are many kinds of meditation. But the big umbrella of meditation is you stop, and we don't usually stop. We stop, and we keep awareness, and we become aware of how our thoughts are racing. We become aware of how our feelings might be turning, and we just attend to that and pay attention. And just increasing that awareness shifts the way we feel and the ways we show up. Other aspects of meditation, and then there are guided meditations that are devoted to relaxation, and there are certain kinds of meditations that can also train our brains to work differently. So we can actually change our neurology through the practice of meditation, and there's plenty of research to support this. So it's not just like a pep talk. I'm going to be really compassionate and empathetic today with my patients, damn it. It is a change in the way we are through a practice, like going to the gym. If you decided you were going to become an Olympic gold medalist, you wouldn't just show up at the race or show up at the event. You train for it. In training, you change your body, you change your capabilities. The same with meditation. You practice it, and you can train certain kinds of qualities in your neural pathways. You can change the ways you show up in the world. And one of the things we do in this class is we train mindfulness meditation, which is just paying attention to what is, increasing our awareness. But we also do guided meditations where we address qualities like our exhaustion or our burnout or our frenzied mind. We do meditations that settle us down. And we also do meditations that actually are for training compassion. And because this is a 1 semester, 3 credit hour class, and we're doing these other things as well, we don't do a ton of this, but you're introduced to all these things. So the class provides you a platform for being introduced to all these practices that you may build on and sustain over a lifetime of practice if you choose to. All right, so let's do a little meditation together. I have cushions over here, and I don't know how many of you feel like you would be willing to grab on these. So come over here. Then have you ever been in a Zen center, anybody, or seen a meditation hall where they have other big cushions that go under these? Okay, so typically these are on like a big black mat, and it's super comfortable. I couldn't haul all those. So when you sit for meditation, this cushion, it's not like you put your butt down in the middle of the cushion. It's sort of to prop you so that you have lumbar support. So if you put yourself, everybody's shifting right where I'm thinking. So the cushion, you sort of sit on the front third, and then it's hard to do this in shoes, but you kind of have one heel up against your crotch, and then the other heel up in front of that one. And you'll see when you get into that position, your knees are going to start to go down. Yeah. And when your knees go down, you feel super stable. So if the person next to you were mean and they were to shove you, you're not going to tip over. You have stability. And when you feel that stability, you feel like, okay, I could be comfortable for a while. Like the way you're sitting right there, it's super comfortable. It's very stable. So if we had the other cushions and we didn't have the shoes on, this would be a little easier. If you want to take off your shoes, you can. I don't know what's there. All right, so the thing you want to do when you meditate is get your body really comfortable. So if you're not on a cushion, you can do this in a chair as well. And that's usually you put your 2 feet on the floor. Oh, you're ready to go. It's like, okay, what do I do with my hands? You put your 2 feet on the floor. You can sit cross-legged on a chair. If you have back issues and sitting on a cushion is just not happening for you, then it's really good to sit in a chair. If you do this at home, you might want to put a pillow in the chair, a lumbar support pillow behind you, if you want to meditate in a chair. So then, the other thing you want to do when you meditate is just have a very subtle kind of symmetrical body. It's sort of a formal pose. It's not like the way you'd sit on the sofa when you're binge watching something and eating popcorn. It's very subtle, it's very stable, and taking that physical position actually allows your mind to begin to settle. So if you were to go to a Zen temple, they have a very particular Zen way of sitting, where the hands are like this. So usually the left hand is in the right, and the thumbs touch just at the tip, so you kind of separate your hands out and rest them like that. And that's one way that you can sit. And in Zen comes from Japan, and in Japan they have this idea of the hara. Has anybody ever heard of the hara? It's like it's what we think of as our core. It's the energy center below your belly. You've got a lot of power. So if anybody has ever taken martial arts, you'd have heard of the hara, because they think about that center a lot. So this hands there, to a Japanese person, this would be considered culturally, this is like focusing your energy on an energy center, and it settles the mind. And other ways you've probably seen are what you were doing over there, with your hands like this, some people in yoga class will do something like that. So sitting with your hands like this on your knees might be more comfortable too. You can try to do it. Okay, I'm going to ring this bell. And what I'd like you to do is close your eyes and let your mind just follow the sound of this bell to where it ends. And then when it ends, we're going to stay with our eyes closed until you hear the bell again. And that's only going to be about 2 minutes. So just sit with it quiet after the bell. And this is a singing bowl, so I'm going to make it sing. So we're going to do that again in just a minute. Tell me what happened in that experience. What can you say about it? What, anything you noticed? You listen to the sound, and then the sound went away, and then what happened? Yeah, the sound is really, it settles you. When it's gone, what happens? Thoughts? Like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? My eyes closed when I should be hungry moment or something. Like, is there stuff like that? Like, you notice that your mind is busy. You notice that you have thoughts. So I wanted us to do this because a common misconception we have is that if we're meditating right, the thoughts are gonna go away, and we're gonna be filled with light and peace, and we're gonna come out of it like we just had 9 hours of sleep, and everything is good. Meditation is a tool, but it's a very slow tool. We have to put up with a lot of things like boredom, racing mind, all those things that our mind does in our life. It's going to do some of that when we sit. And meditation is simply being aware of it, like noticing the stuff that comes up. Sometimes you're going to feel aware of some emotion. Sometimes you're going to be aware of a racing mind. But there's a part of you that's aware of all of it, right? Like that's going on, you're thinking about, what am I going to cook for dinner? What time am I going to get home tonight? How many classes I have tomorrow? But you're also going, oh, I'm thinking about that. There's like these two qualities of mind. There's mind that's active, and there's this awareness of it. Does that make sense? So let's do this again, and this time, listen to the bell. Follow the sound of the bell. Then when we're sitting after the sound of the bell has stopped, notice your out-breath. Just notice your out-breath. Notice it, and when your thoughts start going all crazy, just go, oh, I'm thinking, and return to the out-breath. And we'll do that for like 2 minutes. Okay? Any questions before we start that again? Do you like the bell? Would you like to sing again? Okay. All right, so get comfortable, close your eyes. Take a deep breath, and when you're ready, open your eyes. Come back to the room. So what was that like?
a lot more focused.
Okay. Do you know why?
Maybe just because I kind of just kept track of my breathing.
Okay. Did the breath element, did that work for anybody else? Anybody else want to say anything about that experience? So in a lot of meditation, you have something to focus on. Probably you've heard the word mantra before. Some forms of meditation use a mantra or a sound. Some forms of meditation are actually you focus on a visual thing like a mantra. It's something to return your mind to when it starts going off in its thoughts. But it's like it's always going to go off in its thoughts. The practice of meditation is just that. It's just like notice the thoughts coming to this area. So that's just a little taste of what we do in class in terms of meditation. And as I said, we do different kinds. Some of the ones that we do are longer. Like sometimes we'll do a guided meditation on compassion that takes a half an hour or so. We do one meditation towards the end of the semester when everyone's tired. We do a body meditation where we lie out on yoga mats and I guide you through a deep relaxation. So we meditate in this class at the start of every class session for about 15 minutes. And it's the hardest thing about this is that many people have a really strong driving narrative in their head about being slow or slowing down, where it's really problematic because your whole lives are so busy. So that's one of the most difficult challenges of this class is that you're going to get us to be really slow and to play. When drawing, it's very much a kind of fun play. The way we approach it. In meditation, we're going to sit still, and you're being introduced to those aspects of yourself that you need, that nurture you, but that much of your academic life doesn't ask and will allow you time to. That makes sense. So I wanted to do this other one meditation, but I don't think we're going to have time. Let's return to, if you're comfortable and you want to stay on the floor, but I don't do it. But otherwise, let's return to your seats and I want to talk a little bit about visual thinking strategies. So the third strong component of this class, the third of the 3 main components. All the 3 components are supported by readings that we're continually doing and journaling, reflective type of writing. Most of writing we do, of course, is reflective type of writing about your subjective experiences and linking that to the readings that we do. But the third main component, and it's actually a real primary component of this course, is called visual thinking strategies. Oh, but I first have to show you my class notes. So we have these cushions, and you see it's in the art studio. The class is taught in the art studio. In the next year or two, probably going to start teaching sections, probably evening sections here, either here in Finkelstein, because I know Finkelstein. Anyway, for most of you in nursing, it does not work to go out to the Allendale campus. Am I right? Anybody in nursing here? Like it needs to be here. Yes? Yeah. Is that right? Because I think your schedules are kind of crazy. Yeah.
Does like the atmosphere or the environment matter when you're meditating?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, I mean, traditionally, the information, and meditation is a tradition that's really established about 2,500 years ago in India, right? So the idea in all that, in all the literature is that you really want to find a quiet spot on the mountaintop, sit on a deer skin, you know, and have a quiet, soft breeze. But it's lacking that, you know, I've meditated at, anybody know what Cedar Point is? You know, like you can meditate in the midst of chaos. It's not ideal. Like if I'm going to pick what's the best place for me to meditate, I'm looking for a spot and I've got plenty of time to choose. And I'm going to go to a quiet area and you're going to have less distractions. Right? You don't want to start to get into the practice in a really chaotic situation. One thing about the classroom is that this classroom where we taught the class has it has doors in the back and it connects to other classrooms. So sometimes people were coming and going, and that felt super vulnerable to us. We have our backs to these doors. What you don't see in these pictures is that, well, maybe we do have one. This it looks out on the forest at the back of the Collier Art Center. So we want to look out on the woods when we settle down, but we also felt vulnerable in that we didn't have a really private space. And you want to be able to relax and not feel like, were you a little self-conscious sitting there on the floor? Like, what am I doing? I don't know these people. Why am I sitting with my legs? I'm going to put a cushion on the floor. There's a little bit of awareness of that space. You want the space to feel really comfortable and secure.
It was interesting, one of our students online said she's easily distracted by nature, so trying to focus is hard enough on its own. Noise doesn't help.
That's a great observation. My meditation teacher once, we were in this retreat setting, and for like a weekend of meditation practice and training, and my teacher said, it was this beautiful setting, and there were all kinds of places with views of the woods and of Lake Michigan, and he had us meeting in this dungeon-like basement. And I said, why are we down here? Like, this is the only ugly place on this entire place that we were at. And he said, it's just too pretty everywhere else. So it can be really distracting to, anything can be a distraction when you're just wanting to sit and be aware of your thoughts. Thanks, that was a great question. Okay, so I don't want you to look at that. I'm going to put an image on the wall. And we're going to play a game. We're going to do a little visual thinking strategy session. When you look at the image, well, never mind, I'm not going to say anything about it. But can I turn off some more lights? Is that all right?
Yeah, Megan, can you see what you can find back there?
So let's just look at this image. And just spend a moment just looking at it. I think you guys have better resolution. This painting's out in the hallway, but we're going to stay here. So, tell me what you see. What do we see in this picture?
Depression.
Okay, but what do you see that makes you say that?
Just coming out the bed, like the world is unexploded, it's like he's already.
Okay, so you see a person hanging on the bed and they look really depressed.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you. What else? What do we see in this picture? Yes. What?
Sleepy.
Okay, so what do you see that makes you say that?
Floating in the air, dreaming.
Oh, okay, so what's floating in the air?
Okay.
Okay, so the bed is floating in the air, and to you it has a kind of dream-like sleeping quality, like it's like about sleeping. Okay. Great, thank you. What else do we see in this picture?
It's all the colors, dark blue,
Okay, so the colors feel dark and gloomy, look dark and gloomy. Okay. Good, thank you. What?
just a little light.
Okay, there's a little light. Where do you see light?
Horizon.
Yeah.
I need one of those little arrow pointers. Okay, so on the horizon, did somebody say? Okay, so there's a little bit of light. Okay, tell me more. What else do we see in this picture? Yes.
There's the person laying on the bed, but I was like, one's like falling on it, and the other person's like fast asleep, like next to them.
Okay, so there's a person that's laying in bed, and then there's another person that's maybe asleep next to them.
Yeah.
It's
They
very
quite
quick.
make it.
Okay, good. Okay. Fully onto the
Yeah.
bed. Okay, great. Thank you.
Amy says it looks like there's a person sleeping in the bed with their back to us, and then the other person is there, kind of slumped over the side of the bed, worrying, sad, exhausted is kind of what she's thinking maybe they're feeling.
Okay, good, Amy. That's really good. And Amy got a lot of words typed in a very short period of time. That was good. So draped over the bed, one person sleeping. Maybe this one person here that's draped is worrying about the other person. Did I hear that right?
She just in parentheses wrote worrying, sad, exhausted, question mark.
Okay, great. So all of these kinds of feelings about how this person might be experiencing this. Worried, sad, exhausted. Good, thank you. What else? What else do we see? Yes.
I almost interpreted it just imagining an instance where the person lying down has passed, and maybe if there's like a religious view, the bed is floating up towards heaven, but the person that's slumped over the side is kind of like in denial, pushing it back down the best that they
Okay.
could.
Okay, so the whole painting becomes a metaphor for you about grief and loss, where this person that's didn't put naked onto the bed, as somebody else said, yeah, that was you, is trying to deny the situation, whereas this person feels like they're floating away. Good, thank you. What else? Anything else you want to notice?
I'm not sure what to think of the one cloud,
Okay, so,
cloud shaped.
okay. Anything else about the cloud you're noticing?
Is it shaped like a heart or not? I'm not sure.
Okay, so there's a cloud. You're noticing that it's odd shaped. You're not sure what to make of it. You're not sure what it means. You're wondering if it has a shape that's like a heart, so it might be adding to the symbolic or metaphoric meaning of the painting. Yeah. Thank you.
The like cloud, it kind of just gave me like the sense of it was like a bad, like gloomy day, almost like a dark cloud over you, but the horizon is like a new day.
Okay, so that somebody else had said gloom as well, or doom or something around that cloud. So the cloud is almost like a symbolic element to you, and it's hanging in the sky in a threatening way, but maybe that light that you've seen is a light of dawn or something that's suggesting a new day. Good, thank you. What else? Anything else you want to say? No? Okay, good. So this is the experience of VTS. It's just this simple. We look and we begin to say what we see. And we build other kinds of visual thinking and exercises around visual artwork, but this experience is at the core of it. Now, what didn't happen when we just did this is I didn't tell you anything about the artist. I didn't tell you what their intention was. We're not going to talk about that. There's no right or wrong. It's just the experience of looking and looking and looking without trying to come to conclusions, without trying to make a decision about the painting. How many of you have seen that painting as you come and go into classes? Do you ever spend any time with it like this before? So it's kind of like that experience that we did at the very beginning when you introduce yourself to the person next to you and then you turn away from them to write down what your impression of them. When you start to go through the world in a more visual sense, you're taking a different information. So you might have passed this painting many, many times and you're kind of like, not paying attention to it at all. And now you just all had an experience where you're describing kind of similar emotional and thought world that's going on in that space. So that's at the core of how we do the VTS. And I'm going to stop with the VTS there, but we build other assignments around that where you work with partners, you work with groups, you find artworks in the museum that have particular voice and meaning for you, and we do communication exercises around that as well. Those are the three main components then, the drawing, the visual thinking strategies, and the meditation. And these are a couple of the other paintings that are right out here in this hallway that we have used before for these exercises that you might want to take a look at sometime. So, we've talked a lot around, a lot of ideas around the arts and healthcare. And this is all based on this basic idea that our creativity is innate and that we can learn to be connected and open to it, and that it's part of how we can train. Awareness and mindfulness can be trained, and these things, visual arts training and meditation, are means to do that. And visual arts training and meditation have proven value for effectiveness and job satisfaction in healthcare professions. I have a few, if anybody's interested, there are a lot of different kinds of resources that we use in the class. Whether or not you're interested in ever taking the class, please feel free to contact me at any time about any of these ideas, about talking about them, or with any questions you might have. My name is Jill Eggers, and I was going to run and put one more slide in here that has my contact information, but I'm going to give you a little bit, and also some related course and reading material. So if you want to jot down any of these are books that we use in the course. These are things that we read that lead us more deeply into these ideas. We use Jerome Brookman's How Values Think. And I have copies of these if anybody wants to take a look at them and write them down or thumb through them before you leave this evening. We use Buddha's Brain, which teaches us about the neuroscience of these ideas of meditation and how it can benefit us. So we read from this. We read Paul Kalanithe's When Breath Becomes Air, which is a physician's account of his own terminal illness. And the book is really a very moving book. It's very beautiful. I don't know if has anyone read this or heard this? And you notice these are mostly like bestsellers, New York Times bestsellers rather than textbooks, but we really tap into current writing about relationships between the medical field and meditation and the medical field and the arts. So we read Ronald Epstein's Attending. And another one that you might be interested in, but we don't use directly in the course, is Karen Armstrong. She's a writer of, she writes about theologies and religion. She's a religious scholar. And she's done a number of TED Talks on compassion as the sort of commonality to all faith traditions. And so she's got this great book about developing compassion in your life that you might be interested in. And then if you want to contact me, I have a few business cards up here. My name is Jill Eggers. It's Eggers. My name and contact information should be on the Learning to See. That paper that you have on your table. And I'm on sabbatical this semester, but can still be reached via email. I also have a 40-year daily meditation practice, and also in full disclosure, I'm an ordained Buddhist teacher as well. And related to that, if anybody has interest in the meditation aspect and really developing that, I also do a teaching practice that is about relations between arts and awareness. So the meditation practice and the creativity practice I teach through my studio downtown. So if you're really interested in that aspect or a little bit interested, you can also look me up on the Facebook page that I have for that teaching practice. And that's a really long name, but it's Unadorned Lotus Dharma Studio. And that has contact information for me there. And I'm not here to do all the self-promotion, but just to give you some information in case you want to kind of get a sense of where I'm coming from as a teacher. Also the website of my artwork, JillEggers.com. So I offer this not to sell you things, but just to encourage you to reach out to me if you're interested in any aspect of this form of teaching and how it might inform you as a human being and as a healthcare professional. So, do you have any questions?
What's the top
It's kind of hard to see. That's kind of working. Unadorned Lotus Dharma Studio. And this is a Buddhist teaching practice, but it looks at Buddhist principles in relation to how we develop creativity. And I teach classes, workshops, and mini retreats. And I teach a 4-day art meditation retreat at Oxbow School of Art in the spring. That's interesting. Questions? Yes.
So I'm an occupational therapy student, and in OT particularly, for example, when treating people with mental illness, sometimes or cancer, we turn to arts as a form of expression. Would you say that through the visual thinking strategies, would that be a good tool to use with our patients?
Actually, for your patients, probably not the ideal tool, because your patients, well, I also have developed an undergraduate art therapy program, and we teach it over in visual and media arts. And if any of you are interested, we have 2 new course offerings next year in art therapy, and that might be something that will be much more linked to your studies of occupational therapy. It's much more physical, and the patient can be making things. And the patient who is a client or the patient who may not have verbal skills bypassed in art therapy. So maybe taking a basic course in art therapy and engaging those practices would probably speak to you and your client base more directly. How do I introduce a language that's really safe and that feels really expressive? And I think that that would be a place to start. There's a woman named Renee Couture who runs our therapy program at Spectrum. And if you're at all interested, I coordinate art therapy internships there. And even if you're not interested in an internship, you might want to talk to her. So she develops an art therapy program that's actually built through a sort of recreational and OT umbrella, because insurance doesn't cover art therapy yet in Michigan. So she's a really good person to talk to because she doesn't actually have a degree in art therapy, but the work that she does is very therapeutic based. So I think that would be some good resources. So if you get in touch with me, I can introduce you to Renee as well. Yeah, this is just the visual thinking strategy is good training for anybody, but especially if you're dealing with mental illness. It's really good to tap into other modalities that can be more visceral and that aren't based on verbal and that aren't based so much on conceptual thinking, but just a bit more experiential. Did you have a question too? No. Anybody else? Okay. Yes.
So, because you are in Allendale, and I know you've only had one year for this course, who was primarily taking this course then?
We had pre-med, pre-PA, physical therapy, pre-vet, art students, a couple of art students, which is a really interesting dynamic because they really work well together as a team. I love having that kind of mix. And because I did most of my advertising on that campus and working with biomedical sciences majors, I think that's why their schedules also make it more, that campus more available to them. So my strategic thinking in terms of course development is do another year out there and then begin to introduce it here and teach it here. So I've already looked at a bunch of classrooms over in Finkelstein to see which ones will work, and there's like 5 or 6 that would be really good for this class and will work very well. So my hope is to have it out here the year after next.
Ways to, I believe, combine the drawing and mission making is to really developing Paramax. It's kind of what we do already, Paramax stuff, where we associate like a certain disease with a certain symptom, or even like a lab value.
Is that where you like draw a bubble and lines coming out and you kind of think of all the associative groupings that are possible?
Yeah. So I'm assuming maybe drawing, utilizing drawing.
Could be helpful.
Like visualize.
And part of the drawing part is just so really super simple. We have a day where it's like play day. I put out every possible drawing media and paint media that I can think of, and like all kinds of color, pastels, markers, colored pencils, all kinds of different fine tips, fat tips, and a bunch of different papers. And you just come in and you get familiar with these materials. Like, how can I play with these materials? if you connect to them, you're more likely to use those as tools. You're more likely to think, I can color code my camera. I can do this with it. I can play these, play with the visual in different ways. We do that with specimens as well. Like, let's take this, a part that you're interested in, a part of the anatomy that I'm interested in, and I really want to play around with, and learn how to kind of draw very playfully at first, so that you start to feel comfortable with the language. And that's the focus. The focus is not on finesse and drawing stuff. If you want to get that, there's a lot of drawing classes that you can take. But most people just want a foot in the door. They want to know the language and feel a little bit comfortable. That makes sense. Thank you. We're running over time, so I'm going to stop. But I'm going to say if anybody has any further questions, and I thank you so much for engaging with these different practices and giving your evening to this, your dinner time. And please get in touch with me if you have any more questions or